And now you can see the Backseat Mogul Show in all its video glory on our YouTube page at roughedge.tv.
Come to Harbor Cove Cafe, where the palm trees sway, where you'll find my ties and zombies you'll crave. Your hidden treasure at the end of an acre. Tropical libations, feel the island vibrations. Taste the flavors that delight in our paradise of the night. Sip on sunshine in your cup, life's a breeze, so drink it up. Harbor Cove Cafe, where the aloha stays. Your perfect getaway at the end of the bay.
Showbiz is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs for no good reason. There's also a bad side.
This is the Backseat Mogul Show live here on Rough Edge FM. I am R. Scott Bolton. I am the Backseat Mogul, and this is the show where we talk about show business. Right, Johnny? Johnny
Right.
D sitting right over there.
Good morning, Scotty.
Good morning.
And I've said it before. I'll say it again and again and again and again.
Ad nauseum.
Yes, that is the best musical intro. of
Slam Alice at business
Any
there. Yeah.
show.
Slam Alice. Yeah, I like it too.
And it's an original entry.
It's Slam Alice. They wrote it. They performed it. They gave us permission to use it.
Mhm.
So we got that going for us there. That's a plus. I like that a lot too. Share the whole song. One of these days I'll play the whole song.
Ooh, that would be nice.
We'll dig that up and play it for everybody out there. So I was gone last weekend because I went to Reno to check out our buddy's bar,
Mhm.
the Pele Utu in Reno, Nevada. And I won't go on about it too much, but I will tell you it's even better than you imagined. We walked in there and the first thing, Rosie came up and gave us a big hug. She was so glad to see us, and we were glad to see her. And she said, "Pictures don't do it justice, do they?" I said, "No, they don't. It's beautiful. It's really nice." Plus, they're doing really well. When we arrived, it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and there were 9 people there.
Mhm.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Time we left, there was over 35. Yeah. So they were pumping, and there's only 2 of them working the bar. So they're rushing around, but they're getting the job done. And as you would expect, their cocktails are awesome. So
I saw the video of them, of just Shocker and
Rosie.
Rosie. Oh, I'm going, that bar is full. And it's only 2 of them.
Well, that was when they had the band there, and there was close to 70 some odd people there. I can't even imagine that, but they got through it, and they did. And they're what's happening is like these people that were sitting next to us, they were in town to see Sublime. Sublime was playing a show there somewhere, and they say whenever they go to a city for a trip like that or something, they always Google tiki bar near me. Well, that's what people are doing. They're looking for the tiki bar. Pele Utu is the only traditional tiki bar in Reno. So people are finding it and they're making the journey out to it. So
Nice.
it is. So I'm very happy with their success. And if you get a chance, go to Reno and tell Shocker and Rosie we said hi, because it's a terrific place. So I was gone, but Johnny was busy. Johnny was working on a Sunday.
Yes, sir.
He was on the set with the Jeff Genet doing the first run scene that you're doing. And you play, what's your character's name again?
Old Greg.
Old Greg. And Old Greg is an old homeless guy who's sitting in front of Tony's Burrito Hut.
Yes, but they don't call it homeless.
I'm not playing those games.
No, they actually call it an old hobo.
Oh, okay. That's even better.
When you look at the description, I'm a hobo.
Okay, so a hobo, what's his name again?
Old Greg.
Old Greg. So anyway, there's a picture which I'm going to share with Jeff's permission. I'm going to ask him if I can share it on the on the Backseat Mogul Facebook page with John in costume doing his thing. So tell us about it, Johnny. Tell us how that went. What time did you get there? What was the setup? How'd things go?
I got there rather early because they were setting up camera and I stayed there for the entire scene of what the first scene that they shot inside, and I did my scene outside. And actually, I did two scenes. One where I'm sitting, as you saw, outside
Out front of Tony's Burrito Hut.
And the other one was where I am talking to one of the characters. I'm leaning on the driver's door of the car because the window is down, and I'm saying some really nonsense dialogue.
Oh, perfect.
And
you're good at that. It's like you're on the show.
Oh yeah. And,
sorry.
And I'm macking on a corn burrito.
Corn burritos from Tony's Burrito Hut, pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Even though that was a day old, right? Because they were closed that day.
No, actually, somebody brought them from, I guess, the other place.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That makes sense. Yeah.
But it was cold.
Oh well,
it was still good.
Of course it is. It's a corn burrito. Yeah. So it was. You had a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, I did. And
Jeff said that he learned a lot. He said that, I guess it was the first day of shooting, maybe, or the first or second day or whatever. But he said that he learned a lot and that they have to make some adjustments on things. But that's the whole process. That's how these things unfold. You have to learn and develop and evolve. So,
well, if you're listening, Jeff, if you need me to do a reshoot of certain things because of something that you had said to Scotty,
that you sucked. No, not that.
He didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that.
Yeah, I'm up for it. I still have. I supplied my own wardrobe, by the way.
Well, of course, it's a hobo wardrobe. I can't think of anybody better to supply it.
But it was, yeah, okay. And one thing I will tell you, it was warm that day, and I'm wearing this stuff. It was hot.
I can imagine, but yeah, especially were you sitting in the sun when you were sitting outside, or was there shade?
Fortunately, it was in the shade.
Oh, good. That's good news. Yeah,
but still, it was warm in East Ventura. It's warm. It doesn't matter what West Ventura is like.
Yeah,
East Ventura, it was
different.
Warm.
It's always different.
But I got to tell you, I was quite impressed because I've been on many
film shoots.
Sure, and I was quite impressed with what they were doing.
Good. Yeah.
Not that I'm an expert.
It's not Jeff's first rodeo. It's his first big rodeo. I think this is his first feature film, but he's done this stuff before. And when we had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, I liked the intelligence that he was planning this out. He knew he just couldn't go out with a camera and start shooting stuff. He's got to put it together like a real motion picture. So,
and unlike other, I don't know about the other directors, but when you had PAs and all that, when I would see something and I'm going, okay, that's going to be a continuity error. And you mention it to a PA and they'll go, just do what you're supposed to.
Mind your own business.
Pretty much. And it's a continuity mistake and it's a big one.
You think that the Games of Thrones people would have learned from that.
Right. But in Jeff's case, wasn't a continuity thing. It was something else. And he was quite appreciative.
Oh, good.
And he was taking suggestions from not just, I didn't give him a lot. It's just, I mentioned one or two things.
And he mentioned that when he was on the show, he said he listens to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's important. And he's the director and the producer. He reserves the right to say, no, we're not going to do that.
Exactly.
But it's smart to listen to people and see what other options are.
Whether you use that suggestion or not, he listened.
Yeah. That's a good thing. That's good. Well, anyway, I'm glad that it went well. I'm sorry I couldn't have been there. I was planning on it, but as I said, here's what happened with the Reno trip. It's going to start snowing in Reno and Bishop very soon. Mm-hmm. And when that starts, we're not getting to Reno. It's not going to happen because what we did is we drove to Bishop and we stayed with my mother for one night. And then the next day we drove to Reno, which is the 3.5 hour drive. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. Perfect. Couldn't have been better. If it had snowed, we never would have made it. I mean, Shelley's car is all-wheel drive, so it would get through the snow, but you're required to have chains on that stretch, and for obvious reasons, because some of the roads just dip into the lakes and stuff. It's you don't have chains, you're going over that. We couldn't have made it, so we had to make the decision that we got to go this weekend if we're going to go at all. So we went to Bishop, went to Reno, came back to Bishop, and then came home. So it's like a 3-day trip. So
how'd the kids like it?
Are you talking about the dogs? They loved it because on the day that we went to Reno, Mom stayed home with them. And she said she was just lazy, didn't want to do anything that day. So she started a fire in the fireplace, and they all laid around, and she read and watched TV, and the dog slept all day long. So they had a good day.
Good.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was the whole thing. I wanted to find out about that. I'm looking forward to my shooting. I guess is going to be in January.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to doing that. I've already started to hunt down some equipment because I'm a postman. So I got to have a postman's costume. I'm thinking, and Jeff, if you are listening, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about getting some really tiny postman shorts so I can be like the guy from Reno 911. I'm sure we'll hear something about that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that would be kind of embarrassing.
I got to tell you,
I'll do it, but
I hit up thrift stores, and I have seen postal.
That's good to know.
Clothing. So because that's
if you come across them, let me know because I need to find those. I've been looking on Amazon. I'm not Amazon, eBay, and there's tons of it there, but it's a little pricey.
Yeah.
So if I can find something locally, I'd rather go locally anyway. And if I can save a little bit of money, that's another bonus. So yeah, if you see something, let me know, and I'll look there too. I didn't even think about that. All right. So what else we got to talk about? Well, I'm going to talk about Halloween. It's Thursday. It's already Thursday.
Yeah.
And by the way, Johnny's birthday is tomorrow. He's going to be 83.
Yay.
He looks pretty good for 83, right?
Thank you. Wait, what?
Oh, sorry. I forget people can see you now.
Mm.
Okay, he's 85. But so happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
But it's Halloween season, and I've been doing reviews of horror movies all month for KVTA. And I haven't done anything here. So I thought today we're talking about the horror movies that I've watched, some of which I recommend, some of which they're okay, but they're all fun. That's the thing about them. They're all fun. So we're going to talk today about some of the horror movies that I've seen this month. And we're going to talk a little bit about each one and where you can see them, etc. So we're going to start with, excuse me, a little frog there. Okay. There is a new series on FX and Hulu called Grotesquerie. Yeah, John's going to ask me how to spell that any second now.
THAT.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Grotesquerie is a horror series from Ryan Murphy. And Ryan Murphy, of course, is American Horror Story and plus half the stuff on television that you're watching out there these days. The show stars Niecy Nash, Courtney B. Vance, and Travis Kelce. Yes, that Travis Kelce. Mm. And it's a story about a detective who's investigating a series of really brutal murders. I mean, brutal murders. The murderer is setting up scenes like The Last Supper, for example, in churches and other places like that. And he's reenacting them with dead bodies. And again, sorry about that. Something biblical is happening with these horrible, vicious murders. And some of them are so disgusting that you really can't believe what you're watching. And that's a good thing because that kind of show should go too far. And it does go too far often. Not just in the murders, but in some of the bizarre scenes between a nun and a priest that is happening because the priest he's probably the murderer. As a matter of fact, most people probably have figured that out by now. I'm just guessing because I haven't seen the whole series yet. But Niecy Nash, speaking of Reno 911, she's terrific. She is playing this character because her character is an alcoholic who's depressed and just doesn't care if she lives or dies. But at the same time, she wants to solve these murders because they're people she knows. These are street people that she knows that are getting killed. So you have that juxtaposition of her wanting to do her job and wanting to basically kill herself. Her daughter is this obese woman who just can't stop eating. And they get into fights because she wants her mom to stop drinking and her mom wants her to stop eating. She wants her to eat better. She obviously doesn't want her to stop eating. And so they get into these brawls about this kind of stuff. That's dark family material, And then it comes to a point, and this is the point where you can see this is a horror thing. The mom tells her daughter that she'll make her anything she wants to eat if she'll stop complaining about her drinking. So and she makes her a turducken, which, by the way, turduckens should not exist. It should be banished from the face of the earth. It's horrible. Anyway, she makes her a turducken which she eats by herself while her mom drinks. How gruesome and gloomy is that? That's just grim. It's beyond grim. But that's what makes this story so dark and interesting. And by the way, she's separating from her husband because he's got a little side piece, as she calls it.
Mhm.
And so she's dealing with that too, but she's dealing with it by drinking all the alcohol she can possibly drink. She shows up at a crime scene in one scene drunk. They call her at 4 a.m. to come to this crime scene, and she's drunk. And they tell her, you need to go home because I can smell the alcohol in your breath. And she goes, well, have you identified any of the victims? And they're all, well, no. He goes, we just got here. She goes, oh, well, that's so-and-so from 3rd Street. That's so-and-so from 5th Street. And she's naming all these people. She goes, that's why I'm on the case, because I know these people. You don't know these people. And it goes on like that. But Grotesquerie is fascinating television. It's grim, gruesome, and depressing. Doesn't mean it's not good. It is. But it's the kind of thing that some people will not want to watch.
So Niecy Nash is actually playing a dramatic role.
100% dramatic. And it's not her first time. She was nominated or won an Emmy recently for a dramatic role that she did.
Oh, okay. Because the last thing that I saw her in, and it was a short-lived spinoff from The Rookie. It was called The Rookie Feds.
Oh my God, that show was so bad.
And she was very comedic in that, and she's very comedic in Reno 911. So, yeah, I would look forward to seeing her in this dramatic role.
She's terrific, but like I said, it's gloomy as hell. You just gotta sit there and shake your head at it because it's gruesome and stuff. So gruesome and stuff. There's a great review. Put that in the poster. Gruesome and stuff. Our Scott Bolton, the Backseat Mogul Show. Don't do that, really.
Actually, gruesome and stuff.
It is. It's brutal, but I highly recommend it for those of you who don't mind. There's a inkling in everybody to watch something that's gloomy and depressing and say it's bad. It's not necessarily bad. It can be good. It's triggering other emotions inside of you that you probably may not trigger. I always bring up the example of the Jack Nicholson movie, which the title just went right out of my head, where he's a policeman who promises this woman that he'll find the man who killed her daughter. And is it called The Promise? I don't remember. Anyway, Johnny's going to look it up right now. That movie is the most depressing movie I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot of movies. And yet, the group I went with, there were 4 of us. 3 of us did not like it. I thought it was a great movie that I never needed to see again. Because even though it was depressing and grim and just heart-rending, it was a good movie. I mean, it's Nicholson, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it's a bad movie just because it's that way. And the same with Grotesquerie. Did you find it?
I believe it was called The Pledge.
The Pledge. That was it. The Pledge. Great movie. Don't watch it if you want looking for something happy, because that one is not it. All right. What else have we got here to talk about for horror movies for Halloween?
Movie I wouldn't mind seeing
Jaws of Revenge
on the big screen. Johnny Depp's Sleepy Hollow.
I wouldn't mind seeing that again either. I like that movie.
I would like to see that on the big screen.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really, really good rendition of that story.
It was. I don't know how accurate it was to the story, but we'll talk about that some more too.
Well, I can remember as a kid seeing
that doesn't mean
animated.
That's not the original story either.
Have
you read the original story?
No.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah,
so you're going back to the animated version, which may not have had anything to do with it either.
I believe probably was a Disney telling.
Probably.
But I remember that was animation. It was a cartoon. I believe it was a feature-length cartoon.
And Tim Burton did the Johnny Depp movie, right?
I'm sure he did.
Because I remember it was gloriously gory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was gory, but it wasn't to the point that you were turned off by it. You laughed about it because it was so gory without being icky. Is that possible? It must be, because I just said it. All right, here's another interesting movie called House of Spoils, and this one is on Amazon Prime. House of Spoils stars Ariana DeBose, I know I'm probably saying her name wrong, but she is an amazing actor. She's terrific. She plays a chef who gives up a high-paying job at another restaurant where she's a sous chef to open the restaurant of her dreams. She's got an investor. He's found the place for her. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And it's just a house. But there's something weird going on in this house. So most of the time she's there at the restaurant, preparing it, putting things together for it for the opening and planning her menu. And she starts to experience like ghostly things happening in this house when she's there by herself. And she makes like a complete meal for her investors to taste. And when she wakes up in the morning, it's all rotted. It's all gone bad overnight. It was in the fridge. It should have been fine. It was covered with foil. It should have been fine. She's done this a million times, but all of it is bad. So she does it again. The same thing happens. So then she starts seeing like worms and beetles crawling out of it. And she's not sure that her guests are seeing it, but she's seeing it. So it freaks her out. She finds this garden close to the house that's kind of hidden by trees. She goes in there and there's vegetables and leafy things that she's never seen before. She starts experimenting with them, tasting them to see what they're like. Some of them make her deathly ill. Some of them have the best flavor she's ever had. So she makes the meals out of these. But then things start to go a little crazy and hinky, and I won't go on to it anymore. Let's just say she has a big dinner party for all of her new guests to come, and things don't go the way that they should go, even though by the end they do. By the end they do. It's kind of a slow-moving movie. I like it because it's original. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've never heard of a horror movie with a chef, battling it out with a ghost and a mysterious garden. I think that's cool. And Ariana's performance is brilliant. She is so good at this. I first saw her in West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's remake, and she was good in that. But man, she is terrific in this. So that's House of Spoils, and that's on Amazon Prime.
On Steven Spielberg's version, what character did she play in West Side Story?
She plays the Natalie Wood role.
Oh, really?
Yes.
See, I never saw that movie, so
it was so
Natalie
good.
Wood was great.
Spielberg's West Side Story suffered from the same plague that Peter Jackson's King Kong suffered from. And everybody knew the story too well.
Yeah.
And when you know a story too well, no matter how glorious what is on the screen, as is the case both with Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg, it's a little, I don't want to say dull, but dulled. Let's say that. Both films are great. My buddy John Larson said there were two perfect movies that he'd ever seen in his life. And that would be The Exorcist. He thought was a perfect movie. And he thought Peter Jackson's King Kong was a perfect movie. Whether you agree or disagree with him, that's the level those movies are at. But, the King Kong especially, you're just going to wait around for the monkey to get shot off the building. No. And that's not exactly it's a brilliant ending in the original, but that's not, you don't want to go stampeding towards that. So I get that happens, but that was the story with Spielberg's West Side Story as well. If you look at the reviews, everybody loved it, as they should. It was a great movie, but it's been told. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's been told. But Ariana did win an Oscar for that movie, so more power to her. The next movie I want to talk about is The Tingler. Now, The Tingler is a movie starring Vincent Price, who to this day is the king of horror. Let's just be honest, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. So in the Tingler, Vincent Price is a scientist who discovers that, that tingling feeling when you get scared, that little burst of adrenaline that starts in your spine, and then he discovers that that's not a chemical reaction. That's actually a critter that's in every person. And it's interesting because he operates on a guy and he pulls the critter out, and the Tingler's like the size of a lobster. It even looks a little bit like a lobster. And so he's doing experiments on this Tingler thing, and it escapes. Of course it does. So he's chasing this little lobster thing through the streets and into this building, and they go upstairs and they're looking around, and the Tinglers, because it's going around scaring people to death. The only way to survive it is to scream as loud as you can. They tell you, if you feel the Tingler, scream as loud as you can, otherwise it could kill you. So they chase it into this upstairs building, and it goes into a grate, And Vincent Price says, "Where's that grate go to?" Now you have to imagine this in the 50s when this movie came out. "Where's that grate go to?" And his friend says, "It goes to the theater." All of a sudden the screen goes black and it says, the Tingler is in the theater. Scream as loud as you can. Scream. And so you get in the theater. I'm watching this on TV, on YouTube, and it's kind of like, oh, that's cute. It's funny. But if you were in a theater, you can imagine the reaction you would get from people thinking that this lobster was around tingling everybody. And to top it all off, some of the seats were rigged with electrical shock devices.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a jolt in a certain seat. So you can imagine people just screaming and having the time of their life. It doesn't necessarily work really well on the YouTube channels because you're not in a theater. But I gotta tell you, I laughed out loud when Vincent Price said, "Where does that go?" And his partner says, "To the theater." It's just brilliant.
Now, when I'm looking at this thing, it shows a 2024 date.
That's a typo from me, which is why you're not supposed to look at that.
Oh, okay. Because I'm going, okay, did they remake this with superimposing Vincent Price on it?
No, it was an original Vincent Price movie, and it's just fun. And again, it doesn't work the same way as it did in theaters then, but if you watch it and imagine that you're in a theater experiencing that, what a blast. What a blast. They need to do something like that again these days.
There was a movie that John Goodman did called Matinee.
Yes.
And it came out in, I believe it was released in 93. And
you don't believe that? You've got it on your phone right now.
Well, yeah. And they talk about what they had to do to, it was like, it wasn't a documentary, but it was him telling people, okay, we're going to hook these up to these seats.
He basically played William Castle in that movie. And William Castle was the producer director who did a lot of horror movies during that era. And that's who he was, that's who that character was loosely based on. That was a fun movie.
It was very fun.
And John Goodman. Tough to beat John Goodman.
John Goodman movie. I've only seen it once.
The Flintstones?
No. I've only seen it once, and I really don't care if I see it again. It was about spiders.
Arachnophobia?
Yeah. No. And this was this was before my incident.
The giant spider invasion.
The giant spider invasion wouldn't bother me, but the something about that movie just.
So it was arachnophobia.
Yeah, it was arachnophobia.
Oh, okay.
And I never, growing up as a kid, I never had a problem with spiders, but for some reason, watching that movie, that gave me a problem with spiders.
I want to see who directed that because I think I know, but I want to make sure before I say it because that movie was directed to be creepy and it was creepy. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's Frank Marshall. I would never have guessed that. I was thinking Joe Dante or somebody else, but no, it was Frank Marshall. And Spielberg was one of the producers on it because he and Frank Marshall, I think, were partners at that time. That movie is great. If you don't like spiders, don't watch that movie because that movie will, every one of your spider fears
comes true
in that movie. The one I remember the most is the spider crawling into the guy's bedroom slipper. Oh, that's not good. I also remember John Goodman in that as, the pest control guy. Brilliant.
He was kind of the comic relief in a sense.
He was.
I mean, you would think someone like Jeff Daniels. No, it was definitely John Goodman.
Actually, I wouldn't think Jeff Daniels. Jeff Daniels is usually a dramatic actor. I mean, I know he does the Dumb and Dumber movies. I get that, but most of the time he's doing, more serious roles. But yeah, it's Julian Sands. Yeah, you're right. I forgot.
And what happened to him? Oh,
yeah, that's worse than the spiders. I'll tell you what. One thing about spiders. I used to not like spiders. I hated spiders. They creeped me out. They did the webs and everything. And then I started working for the pest control company. And in order to work for the pest control company at that time, at least, even though I wasn't out in the field, I had to go through a lot of training about spiders. I had to get my license. I still have my pest control operator license, inspector license, not operator. Anyway, the more I learned about spiders, the less I feared them. They don't bother me at all. The only one that really bothers me now is the black widow. Because they just look creepy and metallic and like a Terminator spider. But the other ones, I mean, I'll go out to my truck every morning. It doesn't matter what happens. And there's cobwebs all over it. I just take them by the handful and throw them on the ground and wipe them off. They stick sometimes, so you get a nap. It doesn't bother me at all, because I learned that spiders really are pretty harmless. So
remember the James Bond movie? Oh God, I can't remember which one it was, where he's lying in bed and it shows an overview scene of a tarantula
yes,
crawling up, and it's on glass.
Yes.
And he's on.
you can see the glass. Yeah, you can see the glass in that. Another thing is tarantulas aren't deadly unless you have an allergy to them. You're going to have a painful bite and your hands are going to swell up and you might have to see a doctor and get some antibiotics or something, but they're not deadly. But they always use them in those old movies. Here comes in one of the Sherlock Holmes stories from the 1800s.
Yeah.
They use that as a death method. No, it's not. That's the thing. You learn that there are very few medically important. That's how they identify them. Spiders in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Very few. So, yeah, they don't bother me at all now. Spiders just like, get the hell off my truck.
Wasn't there a horror movie, a black and white horror movie done back in I'm going to say the 50s?
Yes.
About a giant I can't say the word.
I believe it was called Tarantula.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big, stupid looking spider. I love that so much.
It is because of atomic testing.
Yes. Well, that's how many of those did they have? They had the ants with Them. One of my favorite movies also. I love Them. All the giant insect movies. They're just a blast.
And the giant crabs.
Yes.
From, Mysterious Island.
Yeah, that's right. That was stop motion. That was good stuff.
I want to stop when you were talking about
Grotesquerie. You still haven't asked me how to spell that.
That's because I looked up there. How do you spell that? JT.
That's it.
Excuse me. The killer was enacting scenes from something.
Yes.
Okay. The pilot episode of Castle.
Okay.
The killer was enacting scenes that Castle had written in
that's right.
his books.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's where they may have gotten that idea.
I think they probably got that from real life, because I think that's been done. Mm-hmm. There's been people who set up like a family at dinner, mm-hmm. and they're all dead, and they've set them up there and put food in front. It's a freaky psycho serial killer thing. But that's probably where they got that from. I guess
what made me think of that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that completely. And jumping back real quick to the Rookie Feds, is that what it was called?
Yeah,
that show was terrible. It was awful. I love Niecy Nash. Yep. I love the Rookie, even though the Rookie is the stupidest show on TV. I mean, if there was a cop that got shot at as often as Nathan Fillion does in that show, they would take him off the force and put him on an island somewhere. Every episode is like they're sending people. I go, don't go with him. He's going to get shot at. Boom, he gets shot at. It never fails. But it's just fun, silly entertainment. And Fillion is amazing as always. I watch anything that guy's in. So, all right. Do you have something else?
No, I agree with you. I have started watching on Prime Video the episodes of Castle.
Oh yeah, Castle. That's where Rich Galano from KVTA, he's been rewatching it too, because he enjoyed it very much the first time through. It was a great series. I wish they'd make a movie or something, but my understanding is that Fillion and his partner, his co-star in that, do not get along. Right. So it's probably not going to happen. But
one scene I do remember, it was a Halloween episode, and Nathan Fillion's character, Richard Castle, comes out of the bedroom dressed as Captain Mal from Serenity. Thank you. And the actress playing his daughter, she looks at him. She goes, "Been there, done that."
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah," and he turns around, and walks back into his bedroom. I mean, to me, that was a nice homage.
I've been told that if you see Nathan Fillion in public, that you just say "Captain," and he'll say "Carry on." And very nice and friendly about it, but he likes apparently to be called Captain, because what a terrific show that was.
I've got
Firefly was the show, Serenity
yes.
was the movie.
I've got some of the books that Richard Castle.
How many did he write? Do we know how many he wrote? And it wasn't him, of course. They had
True. There was 3 authors,
ghostwriters
wrote,
doing.
and well-known authors that wrote those books, because he did, not only did he do the Heat, they had his character do the Heat books, but he also the Storm books.
Wow, there was a lot of them. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Nikki Heat books, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Derek Storm books. And let's see who they were. Tom Shaw. I guess they've never actually said who really wrote them. But the rumors are that Tom Straw and Brad Parks were the ones who wrote the books. And let's see what else. It doesn't say anything else about that. I always thought that some of the actors who were in the series, because he had a poker game where he played with other authors.
And they were the real authors.
The real authors. I thought maybe they had a hands on it.
That's what I was under the impression.
But it doesn't look that way. But I don't think anybody knows. I think they're keeping that a secret. All right, moving on to our next horror movie that I've reviewed this month, Salem's Lot. Now, this was a, I don't know what, it's been so long since I've read that book, which is one of my favorite books, as most Stephen King books are among my favorite books. I don't remember how closely this new version follows the book. I don't even remember how closely it follows the original movie, that television movie that was made with David Soul. That being said, I really enjoyed this version. It stars Lewis Pullman. You recognize that last name, Johnny? Lewis Pullman.
Yes, I do.
It's Bill Pullman's son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, kind of cool. Mackenzie Lee and Jordan Preston Carter. And the reason I mentioned, Alfre Woodward is also in this.
She's good.
She is amazing. Yes. And the story in this one is an author returns to his hometown, which is Jerusalem's Lot, which is short for Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot is short for. And he's there to do research for his new novel. And he couldn't have picked a better time, because he happens to show up in his old town when a pair of vampires have moved into the neighborhood, opened a little store, bought a house up on the hill. Of course, it's the creepy house that nobody else wants, that these vampires are living in. But then the townspeople start to die because it's a vampire buffet.
Yeah.
So they become vampires, and it grows and it grows and it grows. And the author finds himself with a little team of people who they know they have to stop the vampire before he takes over the entire city. So they get together and do that. Now, I don't know. Again, I don't know how much that follows the book. There's a scene at a drive-in. I don't remember it all, but it's a terrific scene. It's a lot of fun. There's a kid in it, Jordan Preston Carter. And he's this young boy, probably 13, no, maybe 15. It's somewhere between 13 and 15. And sorry, there's that frog again. He knows that there's vampires, and he's going to kill them himself if he has to. And he's just a badass. He is so much fun in this movie, watching this kid go after these vampires. I loved it. I thought he was terrific. And it's your typical horror movie. It's, the vampires, there's blood, there's a little gore, there's, lots of horror violence, but it's fun. It was kind of old fashioned almost. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed it for that. Now, again, I'm not speaking as a Stephen King fan because I don't remember the book well enough to compare. That being said, I want to read that again. I got to read Salem's Lot again. I discovered Stephen King. This is embarrassing, but it's true. I was at Kmart in Ventura when I was a kid, and there was a book called Carrie on the paperback shelf. Remember the days when they had the paperback racks? Mm-hmm. God, I love those. I miss those days. And I read the back cover. And I thought, well, this sounds interesting. And then I read that book, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I couldn't wait for Salem's Lot to come out. And when it did, I read that. And, I think I've been hooked since then. And, Stephen King has a miss here and there, but for the most part, dude nails it every time. I think he's one of America's great storytellers. And a lot of people tend to look down on him because he writes horror. Well, first of all, he writes a lot more than horror, so you're wrong there. But the stories that he tells and the way he tells them draw you in so tightly that I can't think of anybody else I'd rather read. So fortunately, I've got a few Stephen King books to read, so I'll get to those shortly. But it's just good stuff. And it makes me want to go back and reread Salem's Lot. That's on HBO, by the way, and also on Max, of course. So if you want to check out the remake of Salem's Lot, excuse me.
Two of my favorite vampire movies. Now there's several.
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is one of them. And the other one, excuse me.
What is our problem today? Did you know what it
Oh.
was? It was those burritos from the donut shop.
They were good.
They were good.
Well, it's not so much the burritos; it was that really good salsa.
That might be our problem because that was hot.
Oh yeah, and it really made my nose run.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. See, there was Lost Boys, Fright Night.
Fright Night, the original.
Yeah,
the
the
remake
original.
didn't work, even though it was Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
How did that? It's surprising.
And there was one other I was thinking of, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. One that I did like was had George Clooney and it was,
From Dusk Till Dawn.
yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Terrific movie.
yeah.
My favorite line, maybe of all time from any movie. I can't stand the show. I'll say the shortened version because we try to keep it fairly clean here. But they realize that they're vampires and they're going to become dinner, so they start fighting back, and they kill a lot of vampires. But the band never stops playing. But the band has turned from a band of rockers into a band of vampires, and they're playing like dead body parts and stuff. And I can't remember who the character is, but he looks up and he goes, "Let's kill that effing band." I just roared laughing at that.
Was that
Tarantino wrote that movie?
Yeah, was that the actor who played the
You're being very
taking
helpful
care of the
here.
kids?
No,
Okay.
I want to say no, I don't remember. Anyway, we'll move on from that. But yeah,
Okay.
From Dusk Till Dawn is a lot of fun too.
Yeah, but in Lost Boys, what was the final line?
That is the only reason. See, here's the thing. That finale was so great, it makes you overlook the rest of the film, which isn't that great. In my opinion. I know a lot of people love that movie, and I love that movie too, but mainly because of that ending. It was such a surprise. That's the one thing I don't like about this town. All the effing vampires. Terrific. All right. Here's the thing about vampires. Vampires got saturated. It's like the superheroes now. There's too many superhero movies. There was too many vampire movies. They were everywhere. And then the zombies came along. And I swear to God, I thought the zombie era would be over by now, but it's not. It's still going strong. How many Walking Dead series are there now? Like 6? It's insane.
I actually got bored with the original.
I did too. I gave up on it finally. I said, okay, this is, but no, apparently nobody else has. And by the way, I loved zombies from Night of the Living Dead when George Romero pretty much created, and his team created the modern day understanding of cinematic vampire zombies. And I love Dawn of the Dead, all the Dead movies, but there's just so many now. It's time to change it up again. You know, let's bring another monster back. And it might be vampires coming back because there's a lot of vampire stuff. Nosferatu is coming out at Christmas time, and it looks terrific. So I don't know. We'll see.
Do you think they'll do a continuation of the Vampire Chronicles that Anne Rice wrote? Or do you think that they might redo Interview with a Vampire, which
They've already done that. It's the television series. There's an Interview with a Vampire television series.
That's right. And I haven't watched it.
I haven't either. But yeah, that's the kind of product of I was going to use the word product, but I hate to use the word product. That's the kind of art that does get continued. You know, a book that by the way, I still don't understand the popularity of that book. I finally sat down and read that book, and what's the vampire's name? Lestat. He's a jerk. He's an a-hole. And why these people all found him glamorous and glorious, I just don't. Maybe I need to read more books. Maybe I need to read more Lestat books.
Well,
but that one, I hated him in that book. And maybe that's what people liked about him, the fact he was such a jerk.
I read that book probably shortly after it came out. And it was actually one of the few books that I actually read on paperback. And you know how I do not care for paperback books. Anyway.
Except for mine. Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true. When Anne Rice wrote that book, when she describes the vampire Lestat, she is describing Rutger Hauer, great actor Rutger Hauer.
One of the greats.
Yes, he was. And it's a shame that he's no longer with us. But they picked Tom Cruise.
I don't think they did. I think Tom Cruise picked that role.
Oh, okay. It could be.
Just like he did Reacher. He wanted to be Reacher. There were other people who wanted it, but when Tom Cruise got involved, nope, Tom Cruise is playing Reacher. I think that's what happened with the vampire too.
And I will give Tom Cruise his props. I did not think he could carry it off because of It should have been Rutger Hauer, but Tom Cruise, I thought, did a
He nailed it.
fantastic.
He
Yeah,
nailed it.
did.
And that's the first thing that Anne Rice said when she finally saw it, because she wasn't happy about Tom Cruise. But as soon as she saw it, I was wrong. He pulled it off. I really like Tom Cruise. I know that he's got some, bizarre beliefs or whatever, but I think that he's a terrific filmmaker. He's one of those, one of the few stars who really knows how to make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what makes a movie work. Harrison Ford's one of those stars. He knows what makes a movie work. If you hire Harrison Ford or if you hire Tom Cruise, you're not just hiring an actor. You're hiring somebody who's going to give you ideas, who's going to nix ideas and things like that. And I trust both of them to do that. Harrison Ford's had some misses lately, but I don't know how to describe that. I love the last Indiana Jones movie, and a lot of people didn't. I thought it was terrific. So I know people are telling me, well, he didn't do so well with that one. Man, he did. It was one of those movies that was killed by COVID because it was delayed so long and it was a ballooned budget. There was no way it was going to make its money back.
Oh, then I haven't seen the last one.
I gotta find it. Hold on.
Because the last one that I saw was the
believe it.
alien ship.
Oh no, you haven't seen the last one.
Oh, okay. And I
Dial
was
of Destiny,
disappointed.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Okay, no, I have not seen that one.
You need to watch Crystal Skull again, because I got to tell you, when I saw it, I liked it all the way until the end. And
oh, the same with me.
But here's the problem. Why do we feel that way? How does Raiders of the Lost Ark end? With Nazi ghosts. Well, not with with ghosts killing
all the Nazis.
All the Nazis. Okay. How does the next one end? Well, let's just say it has to do with a voodoo guy who pulls people's hearts out.
Right.
And what's the third one about? Yeah. What's the third one about? It's about the Holy Grail.
Yeah. And Nazis.
And okay, but my point is, all of those have to do with something supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Why were we so disappointed that Crystal Skull ended with supernatural? We shouldn't have been. We should have been like, oh, of course, this is how an Indiana Jones movie works. And in Dial of Destiny, which I know you haven't seen, and I'm sorry for people who haven't, it's time travel. Why should that bother us in an Indiana Jones movie? We should have expected that. So I think if you go back and watch Crystal Skull again and have that thought in mind, it's a better movie. I really do.
For the most part, I really, really enjoyed that movie. The refrigerator scene, I enjoyed it. It was it plausible? I don't know, but
it's Indiana Jones. That's what you're
funny.
Yes. And you know whose idea that was? Steven Spielberg's.
And the chase through where the Nazis are chasing them and the Nazis get ate up by the ants. I loved it. It was
Marion was back.
Yeah.
I like Marion was back. I don't understand. I really think that you need to watch it again with that thought in your mind. It's almost like we forgot that Indiana Jones does deal with the supernatural. That shouldn't have surprised us that there's aliens at the end of it. We should have went, of course there's aliens at the end of it. So I have watched it again and I liked it better than I remembered. I remember liking it when I saw it in theaters, except for the end. The end bothered me. It doesn't bother me now because it's Indiana Jones. That's the kind of thing that you should expect.
Well, maybe rewatching it, the fact that you know how it ends, that might be different. But not knowing how it ends and you see that, maybe that's the letdown.
But again, you have to remember previous experiences.
Mm-hmm.
The previous movies all had to do with supernatural.
But I never had a letdown at the end of those movies.
Exactly my point. So why should that let you down at this one? I think that's, and a lot of people said that when Dial of Destiny came out. And by the way, Dial of Destiny, there's nothing wrong with that movie. I loved it. Is it Raiders of the Lost Ark? No, because Raiders of the Lost Ark, in my opinion, is one of the most perfect movies ever made. That movie works like clockwork. There's only one scene in that movie that bothers me. And that's when they're running through the chase in the middle of the town, whatever. It's not a town. It's a
village,
it's a city, but it's a Middle East town. That's all I know for sure. And they're chasing Indiana Jones through it. Well, this one guy has this big curved knife and he's holding it at Indiana Jones and the knife is curved this way. And then you see the angle from Indiana Jones' point of view and the knife's curved the other way. It's just a continuity error.
Yeah.
But it bothers me every time. That's the only scene in that movie that's not perfect. And by this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Spielberg's gone in and fixed it, because he could just go in there and CGI it.
Well, he's done it before in movies, and he swore he'd never do that again.
Well, that was different.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not, he changed those movies by using the CGI. That's what he swore he'd never do again. This is just fixing a little error.
I read it.
Maybe he won't.
I read a short story about how that particular scene ended up. There was supposed to have been a fight scene.
Well, that was a different character. That's not the same scene. But go ahead. It's not the same scene.
You're talking about the one in.
I know, but it's the same. It was the same scene, but a different character. Same chase.
The big tall guy with the knife.
That's not the guy who had the knife.
Oh, I thought that was the guy because he had the big knife.
Different guy. But anyway, yeah, that's
so Indiana Jones is supposed to fight this guy who I guess the villagers looked up to
because he's a big dude.
Yeah, and he's waving this knife around. Well, supposed to be in a fight scene. That's how it was scripted and all that.
He had a sword, didn't he?
Yeah, big.
Yeah.
And so Harrison Ford, aka Indiana Jones, pulls the gun out of the holster and shoots the guy.
Yeah.
That ended that. And the reason why he did that, he was battling dysentery.
That's right.
He had to go real bad.
Yeah. He didn't want to stand there and fight. Can you imagine? That would have turned out a lot worse. He still would have won the fight.
Yeah.
But it would have been different.
Would have been a nasty mess.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, the next horror movie I want to talk about is Mr. Crocket. This is the Hulu original. It's Mr. Rogers meets Freddy Krueger. Okay. That's really all you need to know. Here's what happens. Children who are abused or neglected by their parents, sometimes this little library, those little libraries you see on corners in front of people's houses where they have books inside, this little library appears magically on their front lawn. And in the magic library is a VHS cassette of the Mr. Crocket television show. And it's like, it's like Pee Wee Herman. There's Mr. Crocket. He's talking to the kids. They're having fun with their characters and whatever. And the kids are watching this and they get involved in this. And then the parents usually snap and, take the tape away, or they hit the kid or do something bad. And Mr. Crocket doesn't like that. So Mr. Crocket comes crawling out of the VCR and accosts the parents and teaches them that their ways are wrong in ways that they may not recover from. Let's just put it like that. Mm-hmm. Then he takes the kids, though. And this is the problem. Then he takes the kids and they become part of the Mr. Crocket television show. So the next time you see the kids, they're on the TV from when the next kids was watching it. This one woman gets in a fight with her son, and she tells him, "I'm just sick of being your mom." She doesn't mean it. She just says it, Well, Mr. Crocket doesn't like that. So he comes out and he takes her kid. Doesn't do anything to her this time, but he takes her kid. Well, she's not going to stand that because she loves her little boy. So she goes back after Mr. Crocket into his world to do battle. What's funny is that when she travels from our world to his world becomes kind of a horror version of Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse. Mm. So there's like monsters in the wall and things like this that, the critters turn ugly and evil and deadly. And is it a great movie? Not by any stretch of the imagination. Is it fun? It is fun. And the guy who plays Mr. Crocket is named Elvis Nolasco. He's been in 2 horror movies this year. I'll talk about another one here in a second. And he's really good as Mr. Crocket. I think that Mr. Crocket's the kind of movie that's going to have sequels just like Freddy Krueger does. Mm-hmm. But this is very gory. The special effects are a low budget, but they still work. A lot of them are practical effects. Mm-hmm. So in fact, they probably all are, because I don't know if they had a CGI budget. But they all work just fine. And it's fun to see a horror version of Pee Wee's Playhouse. So that's Mr. Crocket, and that's a Hulu original. And we got one more set of movies to talk about here. And we're going to start with Carved. Now, I just mentioned Elvis Nolasco. He is in Carved. He plays a television reporter. This is also a Hulu original, by the way. And it also stars Peyton Elizabeth Lee, who starred in the remake of Doogie Howser on Disney. Excuse me. Chris Elliott is also in this movie. Haven't seen Chris Elliott in a while, but the instant you see him, you don't recognize him, but he's playing one of those characters like that he likes to do with like he's got marbles in his mouth. Just talking like this. And then but my first thought was that sounds like Chris Elliott. Didn't recognize him, but later on, all of a sudden, it is Chris Elliott. Anyway, here's the story of Carved, and this movie is also not very good, but it was so much fun to watch. The small town is having they're at Halloween festival, and they're going to have a pumpkin carving contest. So everybody goes out and grabs their pumpkin. They bring them back to the thing. There's like a 7 to 10 people involved in the contest, and the mayor starts the timer, and they start carving the pumpkins. Well, this one guy drops his knife, and it's on the ground. He's trying to find it. Meanwhile, everybody else is just carving away viciously, and they're carving fast because they got to win this contest, right? So the guy finally finds his knife, and he stands up, and his pumpkin's ugly. Everybody else's pumpkin is like the glorious orange pumpkin, his is this really like orange green gross thing. And he starts to carve it, and a spike shoots out, a vine shoots out from the pumpkin, it stabs him in the heart and kills him. And then it starts killing everybody who's involved in the contest. And so they all run, right? Well, the pumpkin's got these long vines that is shooting out and stabbing people and lifting them in the air and throwing them, all this stuff. And then it uses the 3 more vines come out of it. And it's crawling around like a spider. It's crawling around like a spider, chasing after these people. And what you find out eventually is that the pumpkin, probably a space pumpkin, I don't know, it doesn't really tell you that, but the pumpkin's not real happy about those people slaughtering its brothers. So it's going to kill everybody, hunt down and kill everybody who was involved in the pumpkin contest.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get what that's all about. It's the same movie. The monster's chasing the kids around. The kids are running from building to building. They're trying different things. They're not working. They're getting killed one by one. And, it's just fun to watch this there's not even a jack-o'-lantern, a pumpkin with these vines as legs crawling around like a spider. It's kind of fun.
Me of the spider that popped out of that guy's chest in The Thing.
The Thing, except that was a human head.
Yeah, it was a head that sprouted legs.
Another one of the greatest lines of all time. You gotta be effing kidding me. That was amazing. So Carved is on Hulu, and it's fun and silly, but it's still pretty entertaining. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is a new series on Peacock. This is a series, not a movie. Bruce Campbell is in it, which is the main reason I turned it on. Also with Julie Bowen is in it as well. But they're like supporting characters in this. It's the teenagers, the high school students that are the focus here. And this is about a band, a heavy metal band, and they just can't quite get an audience. They're trying, they play really great music, but they just can't get an audience. Well, there's a series of disappearances and murders in this small town. And whenever they happen, the person leaves a pentagram painted on something, on the wall, on the street or something. And so this satanic panic starts. Everybody's all, Satan worshipers are killing our children. And the band goes, wait a second. If we say we're Satanists, we're suddenly going to get really popular. So they change their makeup so they look evil. They look like King Diamond or something like that, and they start playing their music and
hedonistic music.
They get an audience. All of a sudden, everybody thinks they're great. People are finally showing up because the Satanist group is playing. Now, 2 problems here. One, the town is already scared of Satanists because they think that's who's killing who's murdering and taking people. And 2, there's more at play here than just pretend Satanism. So things start to happen. Now, I've only seen the first episode of this show, and I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I felt like I've seen it a dozen times because there's at least 3 or 4 movies that have the same exact story. Heavy metal bands who end up getting involved somehow with the devil or evil or something like that. The thing that makes this a little bit different is the music they use, because they're using the music of Iron Maiden, of Motorhead, of all these great metal bands. They even use music from Cirith Ungol, which is a band that started here in Ventura. They've got their music on this show as well. So that's fun to see that. Plus, anytime Bruce Campbell's on screen, he's magic. I just love Bruce. He plays the sheriff of this town, and it's fun to see him too. So I don't know how Hysteria is going to play out. I'm looking forward to future episodes to see, but I don't know how you stretch it 6, 7, 8, 10 episodes when they've done 90-minute movies so far that kind of follow the same thing. We'll see, I guess. We'll follow it through. So
TV series that I thoroughly enjoy Bruce Campbell in, which unfortunately was short lived. I believe it was called
Briscoe County Jr.
Briscoe County Jr.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I got a surprise for you next week.
Okay.
Well, maybe earlier this week. We'll see.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that off air. Anyway, so those are the things I reckon. Now, Johnny, what movies do you typically think of or watch?
Well, I mentioned earlier Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I go back to the old black and white horror movies of Dracula and Wolfman and Frankenstein.
I'm sorry, what man?
Wolfman.
Oh, Wolfman.
That's what I said, Wolfman.
No, you didn't. You said Wolf.
That's what I said.
You know, I always call you on that. My wife's maiden name was Wolf.
Wolf.
And she went nuts when somebody called her Wolf. Pissed her off. So that's why I always say it's Wolf.
Oh.
There's an L in there, John. Did you see the L? The L is not silent.
I thought I pronounced it Wolf.
Yeah, you didn't.
No,
not even close.
I got to tell you, one of my favorite lines from any movie, and this particular one will be Kelly's Heroes, was uttered by Donald Sutherland, and he'd always go, woof, woof.
Yeah. Oh God, I that's another movie I need to see again.
But there's so many movies. It's hard for me to.
I'm with you on the Universal Monsters. You can watch the Universal Monsters every year.
Your favorite one is
Creature of the Black Lagoon. Yep. Then they keep talking about doing a remake, and nothing so far. I mean, it's gone from John Carpenter to Rob Zombie to all these people, and for some reason, it just never works. And I think it's time for a remake of that. And it's going to probably be a CGI creature, which is unfortunate because you look at that suit today. You watch that movie. I think it was 1954 when that came out originally. It still looks real. It's awesome. It's an awesome costume for that monster. But yeah, anyway, but any of them work. Frankenstein's a good one. Mm-hmm. The Wolf Man is a good one. Dracula, all those black and white Universal monsters are great. The ones that I typically think of, and I try to watch them every year, but I don't normally get through all of them. Night of the Living Dead. I mean, I saw that movie when I was a kid in theaters, 1968. Yeah, I'm that old. Not as old as John, but I'm that old. And
close.
It was a triple feature. My parents dropped us off at the theater so that they could go play tennis. And Doug and I were stuck in the theater together. It was fine. The first movie was Destroy All Monsters, which is Godzilla and Gamera. No, not Gamera. Ghidra and all those other monsters. The second movie was War of the Gargantuas, which is the brown and the green Gargantua fighting throughout Tokyo because the brown Gargantua is pissed off that the green Gargantua is eating people. God, that's a great movie. And then Rocky Horror Picture Show. Rocky Horror Picture Show, despite its cult status and everything else, is a really well-made movie with some really good music to it and appearances by Tim Curry and Meatloaf and so many others. It's always worth watching. And I'm hoping to watch that one this year because I haven't seen that for a while.
Oh, same here. I can remember when the old Carriage Square Cinema used to play that. And then eventually our corner theater, when it was a man theater, they started doing it, Rocky Horror.
You know what? That's my son met Dr. Shocker before we did because he was doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show with Dr. Shocker at midnight shows.
Oh, nice.
Didn't know that. The other movie I meant to mention, and then we'll close out here, folks, was Nightmare Before Christmas. There's another one that you can watch a million times. It's delightful. Great Danny Elfman songs. It's also a lot of fun. That one does get old fast though. I have to tell you, if I watch it every year, I get kind of tired of it. But the other two, I think I'm into. So,
there's some movies. No, I don't care to see them ever again. I try and
like
blot them from my.
The Pledge was a great movie. I never need to see it again. But what are you talking about? Don't mention the one with Madonna.
I guess we could call that a horror bull. Horror bull.
Okay, so what horror movies are you talking about?
I never really was a big fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
They were fun. I wasn't either though.
The
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. The first one was great. As a matter of fact, on all those, the first ones were great. I just could never get into parts 1, parts 2, parts 3.
You just said you liked parts 1.
Okay, I meant parts 2.
I know what you meant.
The same thing with Pinhead. I couldn't get into them.
First one's great.
Yeah, but after that, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
But,
That happens a lot with sequels, and especially when budgets go down and what have you. Speaking of that, the new Venom movie is in theaters this weekend, and they expect it to do about $180 million in its opening weekend worldwide. But that's actually lower than the previous ones opened at. I'm not surprised. I think even Venom is suffering a little bit from superhero syndrome. John hasn't seen the first two, but I loved them both.
Well, I saw the first time that we saw Venom on screen, and that was in one of the Spider-Man movies.
That wasn't Hardy, though,
Tobey
was it?
Maguire.
Was that Tom Hardy? I don't think it was Tom Hardy doing the voice, though.
No. I think he inhabits Topher Grace from that 70s show.
Yeah, he might have. Oh, yeah, he did. He did the voice of Venom there too. Tom Hardy, the way Tom Hardy plays it is so fun because he talks with that little voice sometimes that he uses, that little voice. And then when he talks as Venom, he's all, "I'll kill them all." It's just so much fun. And the scripts are usually very funny. This one's got decent reviews, with most people saying, it's the same that we've seen in the past, but it's still fun. Well, guess what? That's what Deadpool versus Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine was. Mm-hmm. It was exactly what we wanted. We didn't want them to change it up and give us, we wanted what we wanted, and they gave it to us, and we all went to the theater to see it. So
I really enjoyed Deadpool Wolverine, but there was some of it there's too many Deadpools.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but there was just like, it was a town full of Deadpool.
Yeah, did you get that's the whole point?
Well, hopefully.
You know what? Don't talk to me anymore. Don't talk to me anymore.
I want more Deadpool movies with one Deadpool.
Did you get confused?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But it was nice seeing
Ryan. Can we have fewer Deadpools in future Deadpool movies? I know Ryan usually watches the show, and
that's true.
And I'm dreaming now because I'm sure Ryan doesn't even know the show exists. But if he did, John wants fewer Deadpools. I don't get it either.
I did like seeing the return of certain characters.
That was fun.
Oh, that was great.
The Blade. Blade alone was worth the price of admission.
Yeah. Oh, and Johnny Storm, the original Johnny Storm.
Well, so funny because what did you think he was going to be?
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it. Huh? Thought he was Captain America, but
nope. And the way his character demised.
Yeah,
it's oops.
John's wrong. Deadpool and Wolverine is wonderful. I said you're wrong. I stay by my statement.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
I know you liked it, but there was just too many Deadpools. You couldn't tell the baby Deadpool from the full-size Deadpool?
No, it was confusing.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
And the dog Deadpool. The Deadpool dog.
Dogpool. Yeah, he was cute.
TV series.
We're out of time.
Supernatural.
Right? Yes.
Well, yeah, I know we're out of time, but it's our time.
Didn't they just do a crossover with that?
They did several crossovers.
No, just one that I watched. On one of the shows that I watched, they did a Supernatural crossover. The hell was it? I can't remember.
But I like the way when you were talking about the cartoons, not cartoons, but the comedic relief. They did a few episodes of where there was comedic relief in Supernatural, and I just loved it.
I can't find it, but there was somebody recently that did some television show that did that. I've never seen Supernatural, so I wouldn't have even known if they had told us that. But he played the brother of a character. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Anyway, all right, folks. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Backseat Mogul Show. Happy Halloween to everybody. Go out and have a good time no matter what you do. Whether you go put on a costume and collect candy, go to a costume contest, go to get a Halloween-themed drink at your favorite bar. Just have a good time. We may, and at this point it's looking like it may not happen, there was a cocktail class that our friend Natalie was going to give at La Cabana. Mm-hmm. And that was going to happen Halloween night, but I don't think that's going to happen now. I haven't heard anything from her. But if it is, I'll make sure you all know. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget.
All I have to say is have a boo-tastic Halloween.
I apologize for that, folks. Go visit our friends at The Grape. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Brought to you by The Grape, Ventura County's premier jazz venue and cocktail lounge, located at 2733 East Main Street in Ventura. For menu and music schedule, visit them online at thegrape.club. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.